Welcome to the Wrasslun Show. I'm at Adam Conta. That's at Matthew Sukram. And yeah, it's been a minute since we did this. Sorry for that extended, 3, 4, 5 year break, whatever it was.
Life
Uh
happened.
Boy, did it happened in a big way. I don't know if you were around like, I don't know, 3 years ago, but oh boy, did life happen about 3 years ago.
It sure
Uh
did.
Holy man. Welcome back, Matt. God, what have you been up to for the last, however many years it's been?
I've had three different jobs, I think. No, two in that
Fantastic.
in that time frame. In that time frame. Yeah, just a lot has changed in I was gonna say my personal life. Not a lot. I mean, I still have two kids.
Thank
I'm
God. If that changed,
I'm
that might
still
be a problem.
I mean, we don't have any more, so
I guess that's true.
that's
Right. That's
I'm still friends with you, so that's
yeah. I was gonna say some things change professionally, and then some things stay the same. Like you're still working with the same bozos year after year, apparently. So
exactly. Yeah, I don't even know where to start except that
well, let's
man,
start
there
with
was an itch. There was an itch that we needed to scratch.
the fact that yes, we're back working together again, and just as WrestleMedia and the Wrasslun show all started from work conversations about wrestling. That's where this kind of all came from. You and I are back to our old tricks of just chatting up about the world of professional wrestling on the job, getting paid to talk about this crazy sport of kings that we love. And the topic of conversation that we were so interested in recently was about this whole situation with AEW and CM Punk and the idea that AEW is going to be producing a new television show purely so that they could sign CM Punk back and keep him separated. Da, 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 da. See, we're going back to the 90s, kids, so there's going to be a lot of references to 90s stuff. Regarding keeping CM Punk separated from the Elite. And you posed a very interesting question, Matt. Why don't you let our listeners and viewers on YouTube know what was the question you had for me that sparked this whole thing?
My question was, do you think that there could ever be a personality from the WWE/WWF's past that was so big that Vince McMahon and it was so big, but also didn't want to work with other wrestlers that Vince McMahon would say, okay, we'll give this guy his own show. And that was where the conversation kind of started. And I guess that became a podcast worthy material. So, obviously the big name was Austin. We said if Austin was champion in an era when WCW wasn't completely dead yet, and he didn't want to get along or he didn't want to work with other guys like The Rock, do you think that Vince McMahon would have created Smackdown just for Stone Cold Steve Austin? So where do
Yeah.
you land on that?
Well, originally my thought was no way. I said because Vince McMahon, as we all know, as crazy old man as he has got great fruits of granite, baby, and he just lays down for nobody. Nobody bends Vince McMahon to their will. Not the US government, not the US justice system, apparently. Nobody. So I said there was no way that could have happened. But then you threw a wrench in there because you added a very specific time frame to this. And you said, well, what if it was 1999 and he had a problem with The Rock? And originally I said, no way, he'd never do that because, he's got The Rock, he's got The Undertaker, he's got Triple H, he's got Mankind.
You're talking
It's
about
a,
Vince McMahon now.
yeah,
Pronouns,
he's got a
pal.
pronouns, pal. He's got a stacked roster. Why would he ever bend his whim? But even in 1999, when WCW was on the downslope, you had to think about the possibility that, well, what if? What if Steve Austin had gone over to WCW? Could he have maybe turned the tide for them at that point? Now, come to think about it, that might be a really excellent topic for us to talk about in the future. But instead, it was that line of thinking that made us think about, okay, well, let's say for the sake of argument that did happen. what would those rosters look like if you were going to split it down the middle with Austin on one side and Rock on the other? So we said,
And
why don't we take some time to do that? That might be fun.
and one thing I pointed out was I felt that if it was right after WrestleMania 15,
Right.
1999, I said, I don't think the roster is strong enough at that point. I thought towards the end of 99, if they did a roster split right around Survivor Series, I would say, yeah, this roster is deep enough at that point because he did have the Radicals coming over by that point. Jericho was on board.
Kurt
And
Angle would have just
this guy,
debuted.
I was just about to say there was some guy that won an Olympic medal or something that was just making his debut. I don't know who he ever beat,
Might have done it with a broken freaking neck for all we know.
but by Survivor Series, yeah, easily 100% you could do a brand split between Raw and SmackDown if you're the WWE, and you would be fine. I thought March or April, I guess, of 1999, I felt like the roster wasn't strong enough to be split in two. We took a look at it and we thought maybe it was, and that's kind of how we landed here.
So it's experimentation time, kid. Put on your rubber gloves and listen to some Limp Bizkit because we're going back to 1999. And that is what that's what we're playing today. We're playing Let's Book It, Matt and Adam edition. We're going to pick our own rosters. One of us is going to be in charge of SmackDown. And one of us is going to be in charge of Raw. And there's a couple of ground rules that we laid out for this as well. Matt, do you remember some of the ground rules we laid out for this? How this draft is going to go? This split. We figure since WWE's doing their draft, we might as well have some fun doing that as well. So, what are some of the rules of our April 1st, 1999 draft?
So I say that each show would have its own respective quote unquote heavyweight champion. So I think that at this point, the WWE would have made a new top male title. So if Austin took the WWF title to Raw and was Raw exclusive, then the SmackDown title would have became, it probably wouldn't have been the Universal title at that point. I think there probably would have been a much cooler name for a new WWF Heavyweight Championship at that point, but that might have been just that, the WWF Heavyweight Championship, right? I think we said in our draft, whoever gets the Intercontinental Champion, the opposite guy would get the European Champion, and those would be show exclusives. However, right, the hardcore title and the light heavyweight title, or champion, I should say, are going to float between shows as well as the women's title.
Correct.
But then we also said you should probably have brand specific tag team titles.
That's right. So just to recap, everybody, men's world championship and tag team championship, as well as secondary male championship, be it intercontinental or European, brand exclusive. Women's championship, light heavyweight championship, hardcore championship, all across brand, cross brand championships, if you will. Also, we made some rules about drafting tag teams that I think we should also mention.
Quick note though, what that would be one hell of a way to elevate all your titles. Because on one side, the Intercontinental and the European, if those are brand exclusive, right, that means that there's some prestige there. But if you're heavyweight and if you're hardcore and light heavyweight title are cross-branded, I mean, that just gives guys in that tier so much more to fight for.
So I want to actually talk about our first roadblock that we may encounter here.
Uh-oh.
So at the time of this draft, April 1st, 1999, your Intercontinental Champion is the Road Dogg, Jesse James. And your European champion is Shane McMahon.
I was going to say the badass Billy Gunn. No, not yet.
No, he's the hardcore champion.
Oh,
so
right.
What if we have a situation in which you theoretically drafted both Road Dogg Jesse James and Shane McMahon? I say in that situation, if it ends up happening, the person who drafts both of those champions gets to choose which championship goes to their brand, and then it will be the responsibility of the general manager of the other brand to then crown a new champion for their vacated championship. Does that sound fair to you?
I think so. One of us is gonna have to keep track of all this here, though.
I will be keeping track.
Okay.
I'll be taking
Also, I
notes.
don't think that's going to be an issue because I would never draft Shane McMahon.
Okay. Well, I
And
can take
John
that.
G is gonna love that comment.
Oh, John G. The only important one is Rob. If Rob cares,
That's right.
that's the only one that matters. Okay, man. Anything else you want to go over with this, or should we
You
just
were
kind of?
about to say something about tag teams. I think we
Oh,
said
yes.
if we draft somebody and we want them as a tag team, we get those picks, but then the next general manager gets to draft two guys in a row.
That's right. So we said you can draft teams if you want. You can also split teams up if you so desire.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to draft a tag team, you can, but it's 2 picks. And so your general manager then gets the next general manager then gets 2 picks in a row. Okay, man. I think that's it. Can you think of anything else you wanted to go over before we kind of jump in this little thought experiment?
If The Rock doesn't end up on SmackDown, are we calling it Thursday night bottom line? Because that
Hey,
would be Austin's show now.
so that actually does remind me of another rule I wanted to implement last minute. Look at me. I'm like a real sports agent now, just throwing something in at the last minute. I think that it should go without saying, because the entire hypothesis behind this thought experiment is that Austin is refusing to work with The Rock. Our first picks, numbers 1 and 2, regardless of who gets to pick first, one of us has to pick Austin or The Rock, and the other one then has to automatically draft either Austin or The Rock, because much like the Offspring song I referenced earlier, you got to keep them separated.
Amazing.
Does
Get
that
your
work for
bingo
you?
cards out, kids. Yeah,
Work.
absolutely. That works.
All right, fantastic. In that case, then let's flip a coin to decide who, or I should say, what brand we're going to be getting. So let's go ahead and decide first and foremost. Matt, do you want to call this one, or do you want me to call this one?
You have a coin?
Well, I have a digital coin. You're gonna have to put your trust in me that I'm telling the truth, unless you want me to share my
I'll
screen.
stare into your eyes and
If you want me to share my screen,
no,
I
that's
will.
okay. All right. You call it. Go for it.
Okay, I will call heads then. So here we go. I'm going to flip the coin. And the first coin is tails. So, Matthew, you get to choose what brand you want to be the general manager of, and then I will have the corresponding brand.
I will take the new show. I will helm SmackDown.
Okay, very good choice. So, little peek behind the curtain. I actually crafted 2 separate rosters, one for Raw and one for SmackDown. So that is the roster list that I will be using for our draft picks. So now that we know Matt is on SmackDown, or as I'm calling it, Crapdown from now on, because we got to have a little bit of animosity here on the show. Um, we'll change it up. And now this is the important one, which is we have to decide who is going to pick first.
Why don't you share your screen with me? Because if you're going to be writing them down, then that also helps me keep track of who.
Well, here's the ironic thing: you're the host of the show, and I mean by that the host of the Zoom, and you've disabled screen sharing. So once you can enable that, then we can go ahead and
We are in trouble.
demonstrate it.
That's a Harry Potter reference, by the way.
Is it okay?
That's from Filch. What? Start a collaboration. I don't know what button I'm pressing. Choose settings. This is
I
good
hope.
podcasting.
I also want to reiterate again that this has been like 5 years since we've done this. Okay, so please have mercy on us.
Can you do it now?
Can you hear me now? Yeah, it looks like I can.
Sweet. I figured it out, everyone.
Well done, Matthew. So as you can see here, I am going to choose, I am on random.org for our coin flipper, and I've picked a Canadian penny. So I figured that was very appropriate. Apropos.
All right, so I'll call this one.
You will call this one heads or tails, sir.
Let's go with heads. and the head on that coin is about to change.
It is tails.
Oh no.
So
Okay.
that so that means that
Rob will get the first pick.
I will get the first draft pick. Bravo, hooray me! So looking at my list and what I want to do, I think it's pretty obvious who the first pick should be. If it's going to be Rock or Austin, I have to go with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So I have drafted Stone Cold to Mike Brand. Stone Cold's going to be the leader over at Raw. I have got Mr. 316. I'm going to put him on to my list, which means, sir, that we all know what your choice is going to be. But why don't you go ahead and make it official?
Well, you all know his name, and now he's going to SmackDown exclusively. It's The Rock.
And there you go. No need for you to change up the name of the show now. Thank goodness.
Can you share your
Okay.
screen again? That one
Yeah.
closed.
No, yeah.
You
Well,
have
I closed it. Sorry.
okay. So if you have that, yeah, if you've got like do you have
I've got my list. So
oh, you
here's a
just have it
list.
like that. I thought you
I
were putting it into like a spreadsheet.
Oh no, sorry.
Oh, I see.
Did you want me to put it into a spreadsheet? I do have our names here at the bottom with that. I can
No,
put
that
that.
works.
You know what I'll do though?
I'll
I'll
just
put that at
need
the top.
to hang on, exit full screen. Okay, that's good. I'm good because I would need to see the full roster too. So
I'll put our
cool.
names at the top so there we know.
There
So
we
and I'll
go.
also put us.
Awesome.
Do you also want me to put like 1 and 1 so we can keep track of how many picks we've had? That's
Yeah,
probably a good
because what did we
idea.
say? We're gonna draft 10 each.
10 each, yes. So my number 2 pick, if you're ready to move on.
Let's do it.
So I am going to pick for every great good guy, you need a really bad guy. And to me, they don't come better or more evil than Big Evil. So Raw drafts The Undertaker to the Monday Night brand.
All right. So this is a really tough choice for me right now. I've got two guys that I really want. Both have built-in storylines with The Rock at this point, coming off of WrestleMania. And one guy's star is about to take off, and another guy is going to, solidify his Hall of Fame career. You know what? I'm going to take Mick Foley as my second choice.
I'm
Because
actually
I actually
surprised.
get three guys with that pick.
Sound strategy, sound strategy. And I'm so glad you said Mick Foley because there was a part of me that said that if you had drafted Mankind, I would have
You were gonna
drafted
draft.
Dude Love or Cactus Jack. Okay, well,
Sorry, you know what? We should have do you have by these guys' names what championships they have? Because I have WrestleMania 15 Wikipedia up, but I keep forgetting it's who has what title right now.
yeah, so I don't have that list with me, but I do remember the vast majority. In fact,
Well, I'll
the
just look at the
only
card.
the only
Um,
title that I don't know for sure is the light heavyweight championship. But I think it at this point in time, it might have been either Christian or Gilbert. I can't remember which one of them was
oh
holding it.
boy. Um, da,
So
da,
while
da,
you
da,
do a
da, da,
little
da, da,
history
da.
research into the light heavyweight championship and find
Okay.
out who was the light heavyweight champion on April
Well,
1st, 1999.
okay, so Hardcore Holly is right now the hardcore champion.
As of April 1st?
He
Yes,
he
he did.
beat Al Snow and Billy Gunn
He
at
won the triple threat. Yes.
okay.
Sorry.
Tag team champions are Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett.
Mm-hmm. European champion is Shane McMahon, as we established. And
Road Dog,
Sable is your
Road
women's
and
champion.
Road Dog is the Intercontinental champion.
Correct.
So I don't have the light heavyweight on here.
No, because
Okay,
the light heavyweight champion wasn't in a match at
yeah,
WrestleMania 15. So, okay.
okay.
Well, now I have a decision to make because there was somebody that I had thought of as an alternative to my number 3 or to my number 2, which was The Undertaker. But now I'm wondering, since you didn't pick them up, I'm wondering if I want to grab them now or do I want to grab my original number 3? I think I am going to go rogue on this one and pick up somebody different. I think that it's just too good of an opportunity. So I'm also going to grab Undertaker's little brother Kane, and I am going to have the Brothers of Destruction both on the Raw brand.
Excellent choice.
I agree.
Excellent choice. Okay. I think that makes my number 3 pick easy then. I'm going to take Triple H.
I
Like I
was
said,
worried that you might take him, but
at this point, his the rocket's just about to take off on Triple H right here, right? I mean, he's about to have a huge end to 1999, and 2000 is a massive year for the game. So,
well,
um,
here's the thing I want to talk about I'm glad you brought that up because I want you to know that the way I'm looking at this is I'm trying to take stock of these wrestlers as they are in
in
1999
1999,
at the
yeah,
moment.
and that's why it was. I'm trying to look at it as who are guys that I think I can match up well with The Rock at the top. And that's why Mick Foley, that's why for me, it was a tough choice between Foley and Triple H because Triple H has had this rivalry already with The Rock over the Intercontinental Championship. I mean, they're coming off an amazing ladder match at SummerSlam 98. Laundry's done. And, and obviously Mick Foley and The Rock. I mean, you've talked about this before. Mick Foley probably should have been in the main event of WrestleMania 15. So those are my two foils for The Rock going forward throughout 1999. Now I've got to start looking at what do I do for the rest of my roster here.
Well, now that we're kind of establishing the fact that we're looking at our stars as they are in the moment on April 1st, 1999, I hope that will make my next pick make a bit more sense because I know with the
Oh
power of
no.
hindsight, people are going to maybe judge me on this one, but this is an excellent pick for my fourth overall pick, and I'm going to tell you why. Because April 1st of 1999, the shine had dulled a little bit on Sable, but she was still one of the most
Damn.
popular and marketable characters on the WWF roster. And I think that if you are still going to have a women's presence on a WWF show, especially on the Raw brand, I mean, why not the woman who was still at that time pretty much the top dog uh, in WWF? So I know, again, from a hindsight perspective, Sable won't be with the company much longer. I think by the summertime she'll be gone. But this is our fantasy world and our revisionist history. So the way I'm looking at it, maybe somehow I can convince Sable to stay on board and do better things with the brand. So that's my hope for the pick. And I still think that she's got a lot of value to her. So she's my number 4 pick.
Excellent choice. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Um, I think I might bring in a tag team here.
That's pretty
If
early.
you will, I just think there's such a hot team to, if you allow me to reunite them at this point.
I mean, look, okay, so here's the question. Are they a tag team? Do they tag team currently? Or is this like a thing where you
Like
know,
they're literally about to get back together.
okay, so because like here's the thing, like I could not draft The Undertaker and Kane as the Brothers of
Right.
Destruction because
That
they
doesn't happen for years from now.
at this point, yeah, they're not
Yeah.
officially a tag team per se. But
Um
well, you know
well,
what?
the guys that I want are Road Dogg and Billy Gunn.
So if I was going to be a real jerk, since they are very high on my list, I probably could have blocked this. But no, I think it does meet the criteria, and I would suggest that they are still a tag team, very much so. So
Because like we said, Road Dogg but the thing is, Road Dogg is my Intercontinental Champion, right? So
yes,
you will, in your next pick, automatically get the European Champion.
well, not necessarily. Remember, if I want if I want the European Championship badly enough, I have to draft Shane McMahon. And I'm not going to lie and tell you that he's not really anywhere on my list either. So what I will do is I will probably take the chance that you will not draft Shane McMahon, and then I will end up with a European champion. But here's the other thing too. We also have the supplemental draft as well. So once we're
That's
done our
right.
top 10 picks, we're also going to randomize the rest of the roster, which means that I could still end up with Shane McMahon randomly. So, right at this point, yes, you do have the Intercontinental Championship, which I'm not going to lie, uh, does bug me a little bit because that's a very prestigious title, and as much as I like the European Championship, um, I don't think it has the lineage or the history that or the importance that the Intercontinental title does.
And
But
that's my thinking for taking them here as well is you're trying to get a new title established at the tippy top. So why not have the other one that people know very, very well as already?
no, it's a good pick, and it's the first pick that I wasn't that was on my list that I thought like, oh, I'm almost bowling a perfect game here in terms of the picks I wanted. So you taken that from underneath me, but they
And
were a
here's the
little
other
bit.
thing with Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, I think it will help me establish a really good tag team division. At least I think these guys are one of the hottest tag teams at this point right now. Again, technically not together right now, but they like literally just separated. So I don't
I
think
mean,
people are going to be too heartbroken about them getting back together again.
you can always change that too. So
Yeah,
don't worry
that's
about
right.
that too much. So I guess then that means I get two picks now. So here's what I'm gonna do. Um, we talked about not wanting Shane McMahon in any way, shape, or form. And I don't. However, I do want his father, which sounds really terrible when I say it out loud like that. God. But yes, number five, I'm picking what I believe is the biggest heel in the business at that time. Vince McMahon, not a wrestler, per se at this point. He's had one match, his steel cage match against Austin, and his one arm kind of behind his back. Oh, I guess, well, he did win the Royal Rumble that year. So maybe it's a better pick than I think. Um, but yeah, man, I mean, look, you can't argue that the guy was a heat magnet, and just like as a personality, as a villain, it's hard to beat Vince McMahon. So I think that even though he's not a wrestler, I think he's a valuable member of the roster when it comes to um, having him as part of the team.
That's a good
Uh,
one.
yeah, I think so as well. Now, I just want to double check on something. I feel like my math might be a little off here because we both have five now, and that means that oh no, I forgot. Yeah, because I originally went first. Now we're switching things over here, so I'm
Yep.
I'm making my next pick.
You're
I'm
back to
sorry.
six, yeah.
Excuse me. All right, so I'm going to let you know a little secret. This was Triple H's spot at number six.
Okay.
Uh, but you screwed that up for me. And I even have an
Like a
alternative.
dastardly heel does.
I have an alternative for him, which was supposed to be the Big Show. But I already have Undertaker and Kane.
That's a lot of big guys.
It's a lot of big giants, and I don't want us to be like the Giant Show or the Big Show, I guess in this case. But now I'm wondering, do I get my next pick or do I switch things around? Like I'm actually really glad this is kind of forcing me to change my thought process here, and I think I'm going to because I think the guy that's next on my list, I don't think is going to be on your radar. So I think instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to counteract your tag team pick, the tag team pick of one of my own, especially if you're trying to build a great tag team division.
I know
There's
who
two.
you're taking here.
Well, I mean, I have to grab the hottest up and coming tag team in
Yeah.
the WWF right now. Um, they're not huge just yet, but I mean, when you got to look to the future, I think you got to look to those guys in the on the 1999 roster. There are a few guys with as much potential as Edge and Christian. So, yeah, they were further down on my list, but I think that you're kind of forcing my hand a little bit there, and I definitely need to have a good established tag team. And I think if you want to really play devil's advocate, you can put Undertaker and Kane as a tag team, but having an established team is really important too. So all right, there we go. Man, I'm surprised how fast this is going. We're already at
Me
I'm
too.
already at seven. you're about to we're halfway already. And
Yeah,
I
no
love it.
kidding.
Okay, man.
Um,
Well, now let's see where you're at. Where's your
so I
head at?
get two in a row then, right?
So you get two in a row as well. So we'll both be up to seven at this point once you're done.
Yeah. That was sneaky, by the way. You got Vince, and then you drafted a tag team. That was sneaky. Um, okay, so I'm gonna go with a guy that I think um I could potentially really build my mid card around, and I'm gonna go with Ken Shamrock.
Wow. Okay.
Did I
That's a
screw
good
you
pick.
up? Okay.
No, but
Okay.
but the way you were talking about it, I thought you were on the edge of screwing me up. I thought the guy was like, I don't think he's on your radar. I was gonna say, oh my god, was I completely wrong? Did I misjudge Matt here? Did he totally just like get the best of me? Did I psych myself out on this one? But not quite. That's an interesting one. And you know what? I will praise you for that because Shamrock again, if you look into the future, he's not going to be long with the WWF. But
No, he's
if you're
not.
but if you're setting up guys to be potential opponents for The Rock down the line, those guys have got such great history and chemistry together. You could easily build him up quickly and
That's my
give him a
thinking. Yep.
program.
And if not, he's a guy that can run through this mid card. Um, and I mean, I would probably have given him a long Intercontinental Championship run here to start out as SmackDown. Like I would probably first night on SmackDown. That would be my big surprise, I think, for that show where anything can happen in the WWF, right? Ken Shamrock wins the Intercontinental title to open up SmackDown as its first match, taking it from Road Dogg, and we begin the era of Shamrock as an Intercontinental Champion. Um, my second pick in a row though. I'm gonna go with a guy that just has all the charisma and is just one of the most innovative and um really special characters that the WWF has ever produced. In terms of like the Gaga, and I really mean the Gaga here. I'm gonna take Gold Dust.
Okay. All right. I was not expecting that pick at all. Um, that's real interesting. That is a real interesting pick. So, w- walk me through why Goldust, because I'm going to tell you something. He's nowhere on my list for either roster. When I was like putting something together, I just thought like his stock in '99 just wasn't that great. So I'm really curious as to why you're putting him on your list.
Again, he's a guy that in the ring, the skills are there, the ability is there, one of the best, right? I think you give him a chance to be out there every night and he's not bogged down and getting um, kind of buried by the overwhelming amount of talent that are on these shows. I think that his star can rise again. And I think you give him a good program in the mid card and just let him be the weird um, what did JR used to call him? Like the enigmatic or whatever words he used to describe him. Like I just again, it's all about Goldust for me is like all about the gaga and the bizarreness. And I think that is so much fun to build storylines around. Some of the stuff you look back on and you're like, okay, that didn't age well. But if you take a better approach and um don't have such a well, let's just put it out there, don't have such a homophobic approach to it, I think that you could really get this character over as just a guy he's just different. And again, he has all the charisma to I mean, he can make this character work. I mean, he came in and somehow got over by teaming up with Booker T in 2003. Like, how did that pairing on paper ever think that that was going to work? But it did. You know what I mean? So I think this roster here with Goldust. I think that this is a guy that again, looking at the mid card, a guy that's he's not going to go out there and give you a sloppy match, right? Like he is going to go there and just absolutely compete. Um, so yeah, that's why I want Goldust here in my top 10.
All right, I think that's a pretty good argument. For my number 8 spot, am finally going to bring in the guy that I don't think is on your radar, but
Mm.
I think you may have made a mistake in forgetting about him. Once again, we're going to build the future of Raw. And once again, we're going to Canada. I'm picking Test at my number 8 spot. Uh, in 1999, the guy I think was just ready to start breaking out, and dude had big size, was pretty skillful in the ring. Um, Not a charisma magnet like a Goldust per se, but I think there was a lot of potential there for that guy, and I think that you know, when you're talking about building a roster of future stars, I think Test was a guy that a lot of people at this time in WWF were looking at as like, okay, he could be a top guy in the future. And so I'm taking that same approach with it, and I'm going with Test.
Excellent. Okay. I've got three guys I really want in this spot here.
Okay.
Um, One guy because again, in ring, um, hard to top him. Another guy because he's so over at this point. Uh, and then the third guy is like a sentimental choice, but
It's hard to get
let's
hard
go.
to ignore those, eh?
Yeah, let's go with the guy that I think I want him just because he's over, and I feel like more could be done with him. Uh, yeah, okay, let's go with D'Lo Brown.
Ah,
Like
man.
it amazes me that you go back and watch Raw from this period, and his music hits, and the crowd goes nuts. And I and like good for him. Like he's awesome in the ring, but like what is he? What is D'Lo Brown? You know what I mean? Like, what did he ever really do that got like was just the way he moved his head coming down the ring that people loved? Like, what story was he ever involved in outside of stuff with the nation that you're like that was a great D'Lo Brown storyline? You know what I mean? But
He may not
again,
have been involved with some great stories, but he did have an it factor. There was
that's
something
what I
about
mean.
him.
There's something there with this guy, so that's why. Yeah, and again, he's no slouch in the ring.
No.
He put on some great matches, especially in that mid card. So again, just trying to build it up. I could between my last 4 or 5 picks there. I know one of them is a tag team, but there's between Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, Shamrock, Goldust, and D'Lo Brown. That to me feels like a very very strong Intercontinental Championship division.
You're not wrong about that, man. And yeah, D'Lo was one of those guys where, like, when I was before I even started writing my list, I was like, God, I should probably try and get D'Lo because he was just so criminally underrated.
Yeah.
And maybe on a split roster, if something like this had happened in '99, maybe he would have had more opportunities to have a juicier storyline and not just be a guy that was putting out bangers with the or with the European Championship. Um, God, what a good pick, and I hate you a little bit for it. Now you said you were trying to choose between three different people,
Yeah.
and you said you went with the guy who you felt was the most over of the three, and one was a personal favorite, and then you said another one was what was the other guy?
Ring work. This guy is like, yeah, all about the ring work. This guy could go out there and have a match with anybody, and it's going to be a good match. But I think you know who I'm talking about. So
I think I do, and now it's making me wonder if I should move them up because I have them kind of teetering on my last spot with two other people. So I'll tell you who I'm thinking about. One of them is once again falling into that up and comer building the future
hmm
kind of spot. Another one is someone to anchor a specific division, and the other one is this incredible work rate person. So I think that I have to think about who has the most potential for success in terms of viewership and numbers. Ah, gosh. Do I take the chance? Yeah, I do take the chance. Okay. I hope I'm not making a mistake here. I'm picking China for my number 9 spot. We already have Sable in here.
Yep.
She is obviously the most over woman in the company at the moment, but China is a unique performer in that she can and will wrestle outside of her gender. And I think when you have a show on cable, like you do Monday Night Raw, you can probably get away with that stuff more easily than you could on a network show like SmackDown. Um, so I think you can utilize her in either division. And I think that she will offer something unique that people will tune in to see. And also young, good looking woman. So nothing wrong with that. So China is my number 9 pick. The ninth pick for the ninth wonder of the world.
Oh,
I
look how
did
that worked out.
did not even plan it that way.
That's awesome. Okay. Um, I guess because see, this is going to be my sentimental pick.
Oh, you're not going with the work
Um,
rate.
yeah,
You're gonna save that one for the end, are you?
and it's going to beef up my tag team division a little bit here. So the sentimental pick is Owen Hart,
Okay.
and he's going to bring along his tag team championship partner Jeff Jarrett with him.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Now, here's what I'll tell you. That is an excellent pick, and Jeff Hart. I will say that I
Okay,
think.
I you gave me an idea.
What's that?
Um, Jeff Jarrett is going to become an honorary Hart,
An honorary Hart.
and he will be Jeff Hart.
I like it.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, what were you gonna say?
I think Owen Hart is an excellent pick for SmackDown. Um, again, network television might try to be a bit more family friendly, so he may have less objections to some risque
Mm-hmm.
storylines.
Yep.
I don't want to say that you may have saved his life just now, but you never know. Um, Jeff Jarrett's an interesting case because while he can do clean cut things, I think that his 1999 character, I think he would have fit comfortably over here on Raw. So I'll say this: I'm not mad at you for taking Owen Hart because I get it. Although an Owen Hart Steve Austin feud would have been good given their history.
Yep.
So you know what? Yeah, you know what? I am mad at you. Screw you, Matt Sukram. That's a really good pick, and I'm mad about
For
it.
me, it's going, okay, so what do I start doing with this tag division? I also got to kind of round out the back end of my mid card. But I also have to have some you always had to have guys. I'm not gonna say jobbers, but guys that you could feed to the champion. And The Rock did this a lot, where he would have matches on SmackDown where he took on Edge and Christian in handicap matches, where he took on, when Triple H was running the show, quote, not like he is now, when he was, on screen with the McMahon Helmsley era running the show, he'd be like, Rock, if you want to face me for the title, you got to beat Devon and Bubba Ray Dudley tonight. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not necessarily bearing them as a tag team, but they're in a different division, right? You know what I mean? So that's what I'm kind of looking at here is like Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett could be tag team champions, but also could be playing, the spoiler role for my top guys like The Rock and Mick Foley and Triple H.
No,
But
I don't think that's a bad decision at all.
you could, down the road, I could also elevate Owen Hart. I mean, you talk about work rate out of any of these guys. I mean, if you really want to go out there and just be like, okay, this month we got to give Rock an opponent that's just going to be all about the wrestling. It's like, okay, put Owen Hart and The Rock at, together at a B show like a Fully Loaded or an Unforgiven or something like that. All right.
Yeah. It's a very, very good pick. There's no doubt about it. So now this means that I have the very strange and distinct honor of getting both the first pick in the draft and the last pick in the draft.
That's right.
Um, I made a decision. Now I'm wondering if maybe my decision was wrong. Um, I'm wondering if I go with youth or experience, and I'm trying to figure out who would be somebody I feel like could be elevated
You got
into
some
that.
youth on there.
I know that's what I'm thinking. And even though the guy I'm thinking about, because I had my number 10 spot ready to go, but I'm wondering if maybe I should switch them out for this other guy because they've got a bit more experience. No, you know what? I'm still going to go with my original pick because I still feel like they could be developed into maybe a guy that could feud with Austin or any of these guys down the line. I don't know. Now I'm kind of doubting myself if I should go for one or the other. No, you know what? I'm going to go with my original choice.
We
Uh
are keeping people on the edge of their seat as they listen to this.
uh don't care for the man personally or his politics, but in 1999, Val Venus
I knew it.
was a hot property, man.
Yeah,
And
that's a
again,
solid choice. Again, yeah, not because of who he is as a person,
but
but that
also,
character.
yeah, and you can get away with his character and his stuff that he did. Like he was a perennial Attitude Era character.
Hmm.
Like, so and I could see them doing something with him and Austin down the line. He's a very skillful wrestler,
Very.
and another Canadian. So I'm just feeling a little patriotic today.
How many?
Um,
One, two, three. That's your fourth Canadian in the back half of your picks there.
what can I say? In the late '90s, man, the WWF was just filling them up with young Canadian boys.
Yep.
Um, all right, so there we go. Let's run them
So
down real.
before,
Okay.
okay, yeah, go
Before.
ahead and run them
Go.
down, and then come to me after.
Okay. All
Let's
right.
do a rundown. Yeah.
All right. So starting on the Raw brand, we have Steve Austin, The Undertaker, Kane, Sable, Vince McMahon, Edge, Christian, Test, China, and Val Venus. On the SmackDown roster, we have The Rock, Mick Foley, Triple H, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, Ken Shamrock, Goldust, D'Lo Brown, Owen Hart, and Jeff Jarrett.
Okay.
So go ahead, Matt.
Here was what I was going to ask. We talked about them before.
Mhm.
Would any of the Radicals, Chris Jericho, or Kurt Angle, if we were doing this draft, let's say it's December of 1999, and those guys are on the roster, and we're splitting it, would any of the Radicals or Chris Jericho or Kurt Angle
Made my
push anyone off your list?
um yeah, every single one of them would have pushed somebody off my list.
That was going to be my answer too.
Every single one of them.
I think the only guy, sorry, Perry, I think the only guy, I mean, outside of my top three, like I would put all of them on there. I mean,
I'd
I would put
I'd
like,
still put Perry Saturn on mine.
I put Perry Saturn over, probably over Road Dog, maybe not over Billy Gunn and maybe not over Ken Shamrock, but definitely over Goldust and D'Lo and Jeff Jarrett. I don't know if I'd put Perry Saturn over Owen Hart, but everybody else on that list, Angle would have been probably my number two pick. Jericho probably would have been my number three or my number two. Eddie would have been a two or a three. D Malenko probably would have been a four or a five. Uh, who am I missing? Oh, and Benoit obviously would have been like a three or a four as well. So yeah, everyone's getting pushed down if those guys are on the roster.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Anyway, yeah, just crazy how much it changed, right?
How do you feel about your list, your team here?
I like it. I'm there's three guys on your list that I would have loved to have had on mine.
I'm gonna guess that two of them are Edge and Christian.
You know me well. And the third is Kane, just to have a monster heel, kind of in the same vein as Goldust.
I am really surprised that you did not draft the Big Show, to be honest with you.
I just at this point in 1999, I'm looking at what he's done so far, and I'm just like,
But that's what I mean. He has so much potential. He hadn't been
I
like
just
driven
like,
down yet.
yeah, I'm just like, I feel like I could use him or I can wait on him. You know what
You're
I
taking
mean?
a big chance.
Whereas Kane, I feel like had had a lot more momentum behind him at this point, and
Well,
he's already had a phenomenal couple of really top notch storylines too. So
yeah. Honestly, I I walked away with just about everybody that I wanted on my original list, except for Triple H and the New Age Outlaws. So
Yeah.
you took those from me, so screw you. Um, but some of the folks that China originally wasn't in my top 10, so she squeaked on. Um, but Val Venus was, and I think that he was like my number 10 spot originally. So Edge and Christian were actually at 12 and 13, but yeah, you pulling out the New Age Outlaws made me rethink my strategy a little minute for a minute there, and was like,
Yeah.
maybe. And with Triple H getting off the list as well, that worked out okay. Um, can I ask for your three runner-ups?
Off
Who are
of
three?
that would X-Pac.
X Pac was next on my list too, and for
Yeah,
a minute there, I was really
I know.
contemplating adding him
I
at the end because I
he
was
was
like,
the
oh,
guy.
he's so talented, and he like can work with anybody.
I think if I didn't draft Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett as a tag team, I would have had Owen Hart and then X-Pac as my number 10.
Anybody else?
I really like The Godfather, kind of in the same vein as Goldust.
He was my alternate with Val Venus because
Yeah,
I felt like Godfather could have been a credible threat to Steve Austin, but I feel like he's more fun loving.
yeah.
And I feel like I said, I feel like he's still a better fit for Raw, but I think that Venus is more sleazy and more of a dirtbag character, and I feel like he could have been a better heel to counter Austin. So
If I draft The Godfather, I would put my worst storyline idea out there where he starts to succumb to the powers of Papa Shango again, but can only be saved by the love of his hoe trains.
I love that. And if I may double down on that, I love the idea of him going back to Papa Shango. But what I love even more than that is I want then um Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett as a team to try and bring the Godfather over to their side of things as Papa Shango and keep him Papa Shango and try to make him forget about the Godfather. And Goldust should try to make him remember who he is as the Godfather. And then you have the Godfather and Goldust as like the G2 Express or G and G, the G and G
Amazing.
Wrestling Factory, whatever it may be.
Oh my gosh. This
And then
is
they feud
all
with
too
Owen Hart and
good.
Jeff Jarrett.
Yes,
Wait
there
a
you
minute, why am
go.
I booking your show? Get out
Well,
of
I
here.
don't know. There you go. That my first pay-per-view is halfway booked now. Well, I mean, I still have to draft the Godfather. Hopefully, I draft him on this
Well, now
random
I want you to get him.
randomizer. So who did I say? X-Pac, the Godfather, and I would start to build my women's division and probably take Jacqueline.
She's a good pick too. Um, for myself, X Pac was also right on my fringe. But also right after that, I had the Acolytes. So they were actually a little
Oh,
further down as
damn.
well. Good hard hitting team.
Yep.
Um,
Put
and
him
both
in
guys,
there. Put him in there at any spot on the show, and that's just all right. We're in for some big meaty slapping fun time.
big meaty men slapping meat. Doesn't have to be their meat, could be anybody meat. Wow, I'm just not phrasing things properly tonight. And then my last pick was Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, there you go.
So there you have it. All right. So maybe we should get into the supplementation, unless, real quick, are you open to the idea of any trading? Do you want to do any trading?
Not right now because I want to know if you think we have time to book your first pay-per-view
We
as
have till
well.
5. Um, I personally do not think we have enough time, but here's what I
Okay.
will say. If this episode proves to be popular and people are like, yeah, do it, I'd happily come back here and compare notes and then like be like, all right,
Sounds good.
we're gonna book a pay-per-view and see who we thought
I
had the
just
better
meant like
pay-per-view.
I'd put these guys against each other, these guys against each other, and these guys against each other, but
Well, we could do that.
not necessarily storyline wise.
Like your first big programs.
Yeah.
Well, if you already have ideas, like let me know and I'll throw them and we can talk about them while I'm just eliminating the
Okay.
guys that we've chosen.
So I would keep Rock as a heel, and his first opponent would be Mankind.
Okay.
Even though I know in real life at this point he changed to Do Love.
No, at
Um,
this point he was still Mankind. In April of
in that,
'99?
didn't he become Do Love at Backlash? Oh no, he was still. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that they would feud over um the inaugural WWF heavyweight title or whatever we're calling it.
Okay.
Um, I would have I'd have Road Dogg and Billy Gunn against Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett for the tag titles. I'd have um Ken Shamrock and D'Lo Brown in a number one contender match for the Intercontinental Championship, and then uh round it out with Goldust and who else do I have on that? Oh, I've got to do something with Triple H. Hmm. Yeah, why don't we just put Goldust and Triple H together?
Just because.
Just cause. So there you
All
have
right,
it.
man. Well, do you want me to kind of run down mine real quick then, or do you
Yeah.
want to? Okay. Um, so we're just getting out of the um WrestleMania pay-per-view. So Austin just beat Rock for the championship. He needs a new contender to go against him. And the obvious matchup, I think, is Austin and Taker. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to book Austin and Taker with Vince McMahon as the special guest referee because at this point in time, the corporation is still feuding with the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
So Vince McMahon doesn't like the Undertaker, but he also doesn't like Steve Austin, as we know. So that's going to kind of be my big. So basically, I'm doing fully loaded 99 is what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kane is kind of in a weird spot because he was just betrayed by China
Mm-hmm.
at WrestleMania. So I think I'm going to actually have China face Kane at the pay-per-view
Okay. That
and
totally fits with the era we're in.
absolutely 100% does. Um Test is going to feud with Val Venus over Sable. So Sable is going to be the object of desire between these two Canadians. Um, Test is kind of a, you know, dirt bag kind of guy. Val Venus is kind of a dirt bag kind of guy, but he's got a big dong, so ladies like him. Um, and then Edge and Christian, I will put them on a path to tag team glory. They will be on a quest to become the first ever Raw tag team champions. And that's how I'm going to kind of book it just based upon the 10 that I have here. Those are going to be my main storylines going into our first pay-per-view.
Awesome. There you go.
All right, are we ready to
Good
see who
stuff.
we ended up supplementally?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Everybody, now keep in mind, this is not just performers. We've also got people like Terry Taylor. We've got people like Sergeant Slaughter. Shawn Michaels is in there. We've got Bull Buchanan, Carl Ouellette. We've got all kinds of guys on here that were under contract that maybe weren't really even doing a lot. So let's see who we got in our supplemental draft. Are we ready? Let's go. Okay, so group one, which is Raw. We'll start off with Raw and then go SmackDown. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. So I have drafted Luna Vachon, Jim Cornette, Bob Backlund. Boy, this is starting off great for me. Gerald Briscoe, Pete Gas, Fatu, Sergeant Slaughter, Michael Cole. So I think I've definitely got Michael Cole and Jim Cornette who could work on commentary together for Raw, which isn't
Nicely
bad.
done. Yeah.
Thrasher and Rodney. Okay, so I have Pete Gas and Rodney, so I have another tag team for Edge and Christian to work against. I have Taka Michinoku, Ivory. I'm glad to see I've got some women wrestlers as well.
To add to that
I
division,
got X
Luna,
Pac.
you did get X Pac.
Yeah.
Adding Luna and Ivory to a division that has Sable and China in is good. Although
I've
again,
also
we will technically be sharing Sable.
right for the first little bit.
So
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. I also got Funaki, which does give Taka Michinoku a tag team partner as well. So I've got Kai and Tai. I got Mark Henry. That makes me happy because he's a guy that I was thinking
Mm-hmm.
about putting on the list. A lot of potential there. The Big Boss Man. That's not bad. Always good to have a good, steady carpenter on your roster. And boy, big old Ray Trailer's a good pick for that.
No
Uh,
kidding.
Tori, okay, she's there. Stephanie McMahon.
Did she not have actually a really good in-ring career in Japan? Or am I thinking of someone else?
No, you are absolutely right. She did have success in Japan, but for some reason, when she got over to the Fed, it just kind of all went to pot,
Yeah, that's so
unfortunately.
weird, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stephanie McMahon, cool. God, we can continue on our corporation versus ministry storyline. I have super crazy, which is good if I want to do something with light heavyweights. That's phenomenal. Or as we can see, number 26, I also got Aguila. Maybe I could put them as a luchador tag team. Maybe do
Well, you do
something with
have
that.
and you do have Xbox, so light
I
heavyweight, a bunch of light
absolutely
heavyweight guys right there, right?
we do. Did we ever figure out who was the light heavyweight
We
champion? I
did
don't think we
not.
did.
I meant to look that up. Keep going.
I have Carl Ouellette, which is cool. We got maybe I'll make him PCO years before he becomes PCO. Michael Hayes. So I've got a lot of guys that could be used as managers or backstage guys. Steve Blackman, Bradshaw is a great. I'm very lucky to have him. Unfortunately, I didn't get Farouk with him. I didn't get Ron Simmons with him, but Bradshaw on his own, you could still do some tough guy stuff with him. Gilbert, cool. We could do a comedy bit with him. I do have Jerry Lawler, so maybe I'll put Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler together. Jim Cornette can stick to managing. I got Jacqueline. So you know what? I think I'm going to have the stronger women's division.
I think you
Looking at
are.
it, and I got Shawn Michaels, who is pilled up most of the time, but hey, it's still Shawn Michaels. Damn it!
That's exactly what they said throughout most of 1999 and 2000. You have the makings of a roster of some pretty decent tag division, very strong women's division.
For the
Um,
time.
not a bad mid card, but then yeah, a lot of personalities that could be used as managers. I like that. That's very cool.
I'm real interested because Thrasher's there on his own, but he could. I don't know how heavy he is, but he could potentially be a light heavyweight guy, or he could work as a hardcore guy for the hardcore division. And Bradshaw, I think he would be like our hardcore guy in there. He can mix it up with guys like Boss Man,
Boss man.
and we know Fatu is gonna come back in a big way towards the end of the year, so we know he can do a lot of stuff too. Yeah, there's some potential here. There's some good potential, I think. All right,
I looked it up. It
who
is
was
Gilbert that has it right
us?
now.
All right, so I do have the
Yeah.
light heavyweight champion. I'll tell you something. He will not be light heavyweight champion for long once I'm general manager.
Yeah.
All
There's
right.
that.
I'm kind of disappointed that I got Gerald Briscoe and you got Pat Patterson. I kind of want to do a story where like they miss each other so much
Yes,
so
I'm
that they
down for
start
that.
like trying to infiltrate the other shows just so they can
That's a
hang out
great.
together.
I'm down. That's a great cross brand promotion. I'll be down for that.
All
All
right, so
right.
you let's take a look who you got, Matt. Who'd you get?
Okay, so got Terry
Mm-hmm.
as my first woman. We got our first woman wrestler here in Southpaw Wrestling. What do you mean you only got one? She's got to fight somebody. We need two of them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look up Southpaw Regional Wrestling, and look for the episode with Natalia on it, becoming the first woman in Southpaw Regional Wrestling.
So good.
All right, here's a big guy, Big Big Daddy V. That's I like that pick. Um,
You could do a lot with him.
yes, you can. Number three. Okay, so this guy, I'm just gonna give him the title and let him beat everybody. I got
You're
Hardcore
halfway there.
Foley.
You're
Yeah,
halfway there. He has the hardcore championship.
that's right. Pat Patterson at number four. Midian. I could do a couple things with him, I guess. I mean, I think he's a very good worker. Just never found a character that could really resonate with people, right?
Well, he could be a hardcore guy.
Yeah, so can this next guy, Al Snow. Ron Simmons, I like this pick. I feel like I could, for a limited time, give him his feud back with The Rock as with him as the babyface. They had a
That
lot of unsettled business, I felt, and yeah, I feel like I could pair him up with someone. Like it'd be a weird pairing, but if I could pair him up with with Triple H, like not like as an official tag team, but two guys just want to take down The Rock by any means necessary. That
That's
could
an
be fun.
interesting idea.
I got Paul Bearer. I'll 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 trade him for. I mean, you can give me Bob Backlund just to make things easy. Like I don't know what I'd do with Paul Bearer without the Undertaker.
Well, that's where things could get interesting, right?
I mean, maybe he's Viscera's manager.
Maybe. What do you do with a guy like that? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be a bad idea. Paul Bear could come back and say like he's
Or sorry, go ahead.
no, just like that he's got a new, creature of the night to guide to the championship, and it's going to be Viscera.
Yeah. Um, or put him full time behind the desk with my number 9 guy, Jim Ross,
You could
and
do
Paul Bearer
that.
and Jim Ross on commentary for a little while.
That's an interesting commentary
Yeah.
combination.
Yeah, I might do that. I got Mosh. Number 11, I don't know who this is. Nicole
Nicole
Bass.
Nicole Bass was the big female bodybuilder who was the bodyguard for Sable, if you remember.
Okay, briefly. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
very
yeah.
briefly.
Okay, number 12, Bull Buchanan, another big guy that I could do some stuff with in my hardcore division or even in my, to the lower end of my intercontinental. Actually, he'd probably be more of a tag team guy.
You have to find the right
Gangrel, I
guy.
got. Gangrel, I got. I liked Gangrel. I was just like, I can't make him in my top 10, but he's a guy that I feel like, again, going back to the Gaga, can do a lot with a guy like Gangrel.
Somebody like him and Paul Bearer could work together.
Yeah, him, Paul Bearer, and Viscera.
Yeah. Throw Midian in there too. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Scotty Too Hottie can do a lot with him in that lower card.
Well, you also got Brian Christopher on there. So, I mean,
Oh, at
you
number
literally
17. So there you go. There's my adding to my tag team division.
so you've got two cool there.
I do have two cool. Okay,
And
15,
you
Shane McMahon.
bastard, you got the Hardy Boys too.
I do have the Hardy Boys. I got Shane McMahon. I also have the Big Show. So I've got the European champion as well as the hardcore champion as
And the
well as the
Intercontinental.
Intercontinental
So
champion.
you would then have to make a decision about which belt you'd want to keep, and then I would get the other one.
I will trade you Shane McMahon for Bob Backlund.
Don't say that. I'll take you up on it.
Yeah, you can have Shane. I'll listen to some offers. I do have Big Show though, so got to figure out something to do with him, which I think is a good problem to have.
Isn't that
I think he's
crazy?
a I think he is an attraction
Isn't
at
that
this
nuts
point,
for us
right?
to be sitting there and being like, what do we do with the Big Show? Like, that's crazy. Honestly, I think
Yeah,
that's the most surprising thing, that at the end of the day, we were both like, yeah, Val Venus or Jeff Jarrett is more valuable on our roster than the Big Show.
it's
It's crazy.
because his booking right off the bat wasn't good. You know
Mhm.
what? Like again, in hindsight, WrestleMania 15, I probably would have booked him against the Undertaker,
Yeah, that probably
right?
would have made the most sense.
Um, yeah.
I guess they
Anyway,
felt like they had to protect both guys. I don't
yes,
know.
exactly. Terry Taylor is somehow still on a WWE roster at this point, so I've got
Well, he
him.
was mostly working backstage stuff, but
Oh, okay.
so he could be like a backstage interviewer, or he could work commentary on your B shows.
There you go. Steven Regal at this point.
Yeah. I
He
think
again,
he was not in good shape at this point.
no,
I
he
think he
wasn't.
was on the injured list at this point. So who knows? Maybe he'll make a turnaround before the end of the year, but we'll see.
I've got Deborah to go along with Terry as the only two. No, and Nicole Bass. Three women on my show.
Are you gonna
Okay.
are you gonna put Deborah back with Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart? Maybe.
Yeah, you might as well at this point for sure. Kevin Kelly, very
See, I
good
I I would put him
backstage
and
guy.
Jim Ross together.
Kevin Kelly, yeah,
I would put. I would
he
either put.
deserves it.
I might as well say this. So I will either put Kevin Kelly with Jim Ross, or I would put
The
Shane
next guy,
McMahon with Jim Ross, because Shane McMahon is actually very good as a color commentator. He's very youthful, and as a heel, he's actually not that bad.
I found him incredibly annoying. Even at this point, I was just like, I don't like him on commentary because he would he would come down and do a match here and there, and I'm just like, not for me,
All
not for
right,
me.
fair.
Harvey Whippleman, great. I will trade you Harvey Whippleman for Bob Backlund. I got the Godfather.
You did, so you can run that storyline
That's
now.
right. I've got Matt and Jeff Hardy. So, well, and
Bastard.
and I've got Gangrel, right? So the new Brood.
You could have the new Brood if you wanted to have them in there. Yeah.
I've got the Brooklyn Brawler, baby.
You want to talk
Uh,
about feeder guys in your enhancement
exactly.
talent?
That's
There
your
he is.
Carpenter right there. And then I've got the Blue Meanie. So there you go. Him and Midian can just be weird together. I feel like I have a very good tag division.
You do. You have the much stronger tag team division. I am jealous that you got the Hardys. Big time jealous you got the Hardys. I would have felt a little bit better if Ron Simmons had come over to Raw and I could have kept the acolytes together.
Hmm.
What I'm hoping is that teams like Kai and Tai and guys like, I know the Mean Street Posse were still so super, super green, but like I'm hoping teams like Kai and Tai, or maybe even some makeshifts that I can put together, could, mesh well style wise with Edge and Christian and really light things up. But hey, who
Hmm.
knows? Maybe off camera we can talk about some trades down the line before the
Nice,
first pay
nice.
per views go in, if this even becomes a thing. But that was fun, man.
It
This
was.
it was
I
kind of a
enjoyed
fun
that.
little thought experiment.
I enjoyed that. Yeah. I think the big question before we sign off is, would this work? Do we have enough talent on these rosters in 1999? How many people did we end up getting? 10, and then we randomized.
And we each got 27 and 28. I got an extra guy. So what
We
I'll
have
do,
rosters close to 40 people.
I'll fire Bob Backlund just so I have no leverage in the trades.
Bob Backlund is never going to come on this show. Um, yeah, so close to 40 people each. That's a good size roster,
I
man.
think for a show that runs 2 hours every week and then pay-per-view once a month or every second month, depending upon what we're doing pay-per-view wise, I think it could work. I think you totally could make it work.
The only thing is the only thing I worry about is getting repetitive matches. But
Yeah,
that's where you got to be creative.
that's it.
I think that's just where you protect your champion a little more. Maybe he's not wrestling every single show,
Sure, man.
right?
And in terms of guys that we have on the top, Austin and Rock don't necessarily have to come out and wrestle to get over and
Exactly.
draw ratings, right?
That's exactly it. So awesome. That was fun. I'm glad we put this together.
Yeah, this was a really fun random kind of thing that we did for once out of the blue. So I think the important thing is to ask the audience who they think got the better roster, who made the better picks as the general managers for their brands, and let whoever is broadcasting this know. We're going to just try and quietly slip this into Mike and Tyler's inbox and see if they notice. And if they do, then they'll put it out. And then if they don't, maybe I'll post it on the WrestleMedia YouTube channel, which has been dormant for however many years. We'll see. But yeah, who knows? If people hear this and they get feedback and they go, you know what, I like hearing those guys talk about that stuff. Maybe we'll do another one. We'll follow up with it. Or who knows? I watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 today. I don't know. Maybe I'll go see if Drew saw it and we'll do something else with that. Who
There
knows?
you go.
I feel like I'm starting to feel that itch again.
The
And
wheels are turning.
I don't know if it's just I need to change my shampoo. We'll see. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank everybody who actually saw this and said, "Hey, I remember those guys. That's the dude from the no." No, that's an inside joke. Thank you guys very much for listening. I would tell you to um, go and give us
Like,
five
share, and
stars.
subscribe.
I would like to tell you guys to go give us 5 stars on like Apple and stuff, but we're not on there anymore. And I'd like to tell you to subscribe to our Patreon, but we ain't got one of those anymore. And I'd love to tell you where we're going to be appearing in the upcoming Ontario indie scene, but we're not going to those things anymore. And I would love to tell you to go visit WrestleMedia.ca, but guess what? It doesn't exist. You're gonna just get an error message. Technically, our YouTube is still up, so if you this is your first time seeing us, God help you, and you go check out our YouTube channel and see all the stuff that we used to do. Um, and then I guess technically all of our social media still exist, but again, there's nothing up there for years. So have fun looking back at all that old garbage. And then yeah, so I guess the only thing I really can tell you to do is, check out Counted Out stuff. because they've kind of taken the torch and ran with it now and doing stuff that I couldn't even imagine doing. So
They do an
keep
amazing job.
yeah, keep
And
watching Count It Out with Mike and Tyler.
I wish them all the success in the world. They really
Yeah.
deserve it.
And if they let us sneak in through the back door here and just put out a bonus episode for just shoots and giggles, thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it.
Really
Cheers,
do. Yeah.
as you guys say. So I guess we can still go ahead and share this with people though. So and they can still like things, right? They could still like wherever this goes up. So I think we can still end it the way we used to back in the day. So let's give this a try then. On behalf of the Wrasslun Show, I'm at Adam Conta. That's at Matthew Sukram. And you know what to do. Like, share, subscribe, repeat. We'll see. Bye, everybody. You have to stop.